What's up, everybody? This is Robbie Yeager, and I'm back again, double dipping today on another episode of the Rob Report right here on MCSC Network. And it has been kind of a bummer of the last few days if you are a Tulsi Gabbard fan. It's kind of like me. Now, look, let's just be for real. I did a video like last week, probably, or a week before last, where I went in on Andrew Yang for endorsing Joe Biden over Bernie Sanders. And you know what? Turns out that my girl Tulsi did the same thing, and I would be remiss if I didn't make a video addressing that as well. So I'm going to do basically the same thing that I did with Andrew Yang. We're going to watch her statement. I may or may not pause to interject. I have seen this statement before. I'm not going to play the entire 4-minute statement. She goes on about coronavirus in the beginning and, some other stuff going on afterwards. But I just want to get to the crux of the message, which was the unfortunate statement that she will be supporting Joe Biden going forward throughout the primary process. My initial reaction was, no, not you too. It's definitely disheartening. It was very disappointing for sure. But before we get too deep, I'm going to go ahead and jump to the clip. We're going to listen to it. We're going to play that. And then we'll get into it a little bit more in depth after we hear what Representative Gabbard had to say about the subject. So let's get it.
Throughout my life and throughout this campaign, my motivation has been to serve God, our country, and the American people as best I can. I feel that the best way that I can be of service at this time is to continue to work for the health and well-being of the people of Hawaii and our country in Congress, and to stand ready to serve in uniform should the Hawaii National Guard be activated.
Okay.
Now, after Tuesday's election, it's clear that Democratic primary voters have chosen Vice President Joe Biden to be the person who will take on President Trump in the general election.
Pause. All right, I'm gonna pause it right there. So a couple little things with that. So yes, after the most recent round of voting, the math is prohibitively in Joe Biden's favor as far as going forward, who is going to get the nomination. If you've been following at least what I've been talking about, what I've been screaming about, now this is something that's been set up since before Super Tuesday, when the DNC strong-armed multiple candidates out of the race for the sole purpose of consolidating behind a Joe Biden to get him to win the nomination without any kind of pushback whatsoever. So, there's that. But also the fact that all the tons and tons of provisional ballots that have been going out in the largest states, it was just kind of one of those things. But yes, at this point, I'm a straight shooter. Like I ain't about the bullshit people. Like, let's just look at the math. I mean, there's no way Bernie's coming back from a mathematics standpoint. And the argument can be made, oh, well, yeah, Biden doesn't have enough delegates to get to that magical number either. But let's just ask yourself a certain question. If there is neither candidate with a plurality going into the convention and it comes down to super delegates, I mean, ask yourself, who do you think those super delegates are going to go for? It's a very simple thing. They're definitely going to go with Joe Biden. Bernie's not going to have enough support with the establishment. And I mean, that's not a surprise. That's just common sense. So, she's right. She's right about that. I would not have agreed. I didn't agree with Yang because Yang made his endorsement before these primaries that had just taken place. But her saying this now, okay, all right, I get you. I mean, let's just be realistic about the situation. It's pretty much over. Let's go.
I know Vice President Biden and his wife, and I'm grateful to have called his son, Beau, a friend who also served in the National Guard. Now, although I may not agree with the vice president on every issue, I know that he has a good heart, and he's motivated by his love for our country and the American people. I'm confident that he will lead our country guided by the spirit of aloha.
Stop. Just stop. I'm sorry. I can't get behind that. That's not a good enough reason for me. Look, I'm just going to put it out like this. Whenever I watch, there was two people over the course of these primaries, and most importantly, the debates, whenever they would get up there, there were two people in particular that literally frightened me when I listened to them talk about how they would govern, most specifically how they would govern foreign policy. One of them was Pete Buttigieg, and the other one is Joe Biden. Joe Biden, his rhetoric on foreign policy scares the shit out of me. I truly believe if he becomes commander in chief of our armed forces, there's a good chance that we get into more wars and that thousands of more needless civilian and military casualties will occur worldwide because of this man, and his rhetoric and his actions is dangerous. I mean, I really do feel that way. I mean, he voted us into the Iraq War. I mean, he's voted us into several international altercations, a couple of which we are still dealing with to this very day. I mean, and that's just on the foreign policy front. On the domestic front, he's the author of the 1994 crime bill. You know, he had so much to do with our civil liberties being infringed upon when it comes to that, and the disproportionate amount of African American and minorities being locked up in prison for nonviolent offenses. Joe Biden, his name is all over that. The Patriot Act. I mean, Representative Gabbard just came out with a video not too long ago excoriating Congress for slipping in the extension of the Patriot Act without any debate whatsoever and passing it, which is a pretty interesting story in and of itself. But still, the reason that we have the Patriot Act in part is because of Joe Biden. I mean, he is the antithesis of everything that you would think Tulsi Gabbard would find attractive or politically attractive. Okay. Politically attractive in somebody that you would throw your weight behind. Like she's already said that she disagrees with him on multiple issues. So she's endorsing or supporting. I mean, if you want to, I'm not going to mix words. I mean, this is pretty much an endorsement, but you know, I would assume that she's endorsing straight from a political math standpoint. So, I mean, if that's where you're going with this at this stage in the race, okay, fine. I'm just not with it. I mean, I'm not with it. I mean, as somebody that voted for Tulsi Gabbard in North Carolina in the primaries, I can definitely say this is one of the first times that I can't get behind that. I can't get behind it. But let's finish up what she's got to say here.
Respect and compassion, and thus help heal the divisiveness that has been tearing our country apart.
He literally told voters that he was going to slap the shit out of, or he was going to slap them, and that he was full of shit, and that if you don't like him, vote for the other guy. And yeah, he was literally physically threatening voters. So there's that.
So today, I'm suspending my presidential campaign and offering my full support to Vice President Joe Biden in his quest to bring our country together. I will continue to advocate for a 21st century foreign policy, one that's based.
All right. So that's basically the crux of the message when it comes to that video. She does go on to speak on, you know, some of the broader messages of her campaign, which are actually very good points. But, you know, that's not what this video is about. This video was about the disappointment in the fact that the person that I threw my vote behind is going out and in so many words endorsing the person that I feel like is one of the worst candidates to ever run for the presidency, especially in his current state, where his brain is just basically shot. It's gone. You know, there's nothing there. He's halfway to Senileville. He might be all the way there. He's definitely not fit. I wouldn't let him drive an ice cream truck for multiple reasons, not just brain capacity, but like I wouldn't let him fold my laundry. Right. That's where his brain is at right now. So, you know, you just heard it. It's a very, very disappointing thing to do. And I wouldn't feel like I was being honest with the people that watch this network if I didn't at least come out and say, hey, I can't get behind Gabbard on this one. And I'm not going to get behind her on this one. I'm not going to be voting for Joe Biden. There's nothing nobody can say, even Tulsi Gabbard. So there's that. You know, it doesn't make sense, and it's disappointing because I really, really, really wanted her to keep fighting the way she's been fighting, and you know, standing up for the losing battle, right? But this is where we're also going to get real with it, guys. And this is my message to Bernie Sanders and his supporters. Bernie Sanders doesn't deserve her endorsement a second time at all. So there's that. That's why she didn't endorse Bernie, because for some reason or another, throughout the course of this campaign, throughout all of the times that Tulsi Gabbard has been taking shot after shot for Bernie and the movement, he hasn't reciprocated anything. Like, it's pulling teeth to just to get him to acknowledge her existence. So, I mean, would you have liked the endorsement? Sure. Great. Okay. So would have I. I mean, that would have been an ideal situation if there ever was one. Strategically, probably not the best way to go, but fine. I mean, this definitely didn't do her any favors. But my whole problem with what's been going on is the sense of entitlement. Like, Sanders is entitled to Gabbard's endorsement. And like I said, she's been there. She took an op-ed out in, a major publication to defend Bernie Sanders whenever he was getting caught with the same smear machine, the same empty rhetoric with the Russian propaganda, or the Russian asset bullshit that they've pushed on, that they've been pushing on Trump, that they pushed on Tulsi, and then they Bernie helped perpetuate that. Don't forget, he was in the media. He has definitely bought in hook, line, and sinker and dove headfirst into the Russiagate pool, and it came around and bit him. He's still falling victim, to that same Russiagate propaganda machine that tried to get, Trump and Tulsi the first time around. So, what does Tulsi Gabbard do? Having been someone that was targeted by that smear machine, she came out and defended him. She stepped down from her position. We've heard the story a million times about how she stepped down as vice chair from the DNC to endorse Bernie Sanders against the party, right? Going against the grain. So, her history of doing that for him, and maybe whether it was for him or, just for, right was right. I mean, she was right to do those things, and those were the right things to do. So it's not necessarily because it was Bernie. It could have been anybody. You would like to think it could have been anybody. She would have done the same thing. And as disappointing as it is that she did not continue that pattern and give Bernie Sanders the endorsement again, again, he's not entitled to it. And to be quite honest with you, he's had surrogates that have bashed her throughout the campaign. He's had moments where he could have stepped up and, said something in defense of his supposed friend and just never came up to bat for it. So again, there's that. He's not, and don't make any mistakes about, come on, let's be for real. Very soon, he's going to endorse Joe Biden, and, we're all going to be sitting here having this conversation one more time about should he or shouldn't have. Of course he shouldn't have. He shouldn't, whenever it comes down to it. And because make no mistake, he's going to do that. He's got a history of saying that he will endorse his competitors. He will endorse establishment figures. And, there's just nothing that we're going to be able to do about that. It's just, the way I look at it is this. Am I super disappointed in the fact that Tulsi endorsed Biden? Of course I am. Like, that's a gut punch. Am I going to cancel her over it? No. That's fucking stupid. Why would you? Am I going to follow her into this, support Biden thing? No, I'm not going to, but am I going to cancel her? No. Why? Because the reason why is that if I canceled people over them endorsing neoliberal tyrants or wannabe tyrants, career politicians that have done decades worth of damage to this country, if I was in the business of canceling people over doing that, then you would have never heard the phrase Bernie Sanders come out of my mouth in a positive light at all ever again after 2016. Because when he endorsed Hillary Clinton, that was like, I remember what that felt like. I know a lot of people watching this video right now probably remember what that felt like. It hurt, sucked, almost made me never want to. Honestly, it made me really consider never putting my support behind him again. So I get the anger part of it. But when it comes down to it, that would have just been a dumb thing to do. And I'm not going to do the same. I'm not going to do that with Tulsi Gabbard either. So, I mean, because honestly, her ideas are wonderful, and let's just be for real. She's put forward some of the best legislation on numerous issues, and the best legislation we've seen on numerous issues in a long time. Election integrity, the stopping arming of terrorists. You know, she's trying to get the opioid crisis accountability act pushed through Congress. Dude, obviously everybody knows about the OFF Act, but the list goes on and on. Like, she's doing good work, and like her record speaks for itself, just like Joe Biden's record speaks for itself, which is why her endorsement of him is super confusing and disappointing. But again, you know, Anna Kasparian and, you know, certain other people can take their victory lap, right? Saying about, you know, oh, she's not a progressive, blah, blah, blah. She was never a progressive because, you know, now she's showing her true colors. Look, that's just stupid. I'm just going to say it. I mean, it's stupid, because in a week or two, we're going to be sitting here having the same conversation again about Bernie Sanders, the man who's been calling Joe Biden his friend for months. You know, would you think he's not going to endorse his friend? Come on. Of course he is. They're all going to wind up endorsing him in the end. You know, so look, I mean, this is where we're at. You know, I'm not trying to be adversarial with Bernie supporters, but I'm not here to bullshit you or feed anybody's ego with the shit. I mean, guys, it's pretty much over. Like I said, I mean, yeah, the math is in Joe Biden's favor simply because Bernie can't get to the threshold that he needed to get to. And going to a contested convention, yeah, they're not going to give it to Bernie. The establishment, have you seen that crew they're going to have assembled in Milwaukee? And, you know, if we have a convention, you know, because of the shit going on. But regardless of that, you think they're gonna give it to Bernie? You think the super delegates are just going to magically swing it? I mean, come on, guys. You know, let's just be for real about it. You know, like I'm at the stage where I'm like super like my jaw dropped when I first saw what Tulsi did, what Representative Gabbard did, and yeah, like I was taken aback by it. It was pretty disappointing for sure. But then again, like the first thing I thought of was Bernie Sanders endorsing Hillary Clinton after WikiLeaks had exposed the entire process was rigged from the get-go, and that Clinton was in on it, and her campaign was in on it from the get-go, and he still wound up endorsing her in the end. You even had those geniuses over at the Young Turks telling us to vote for Clinton in the end. You know, can you see them doing the same thing this year with Biden? I can. Totally. You know, so I mean, I've seen a lot of angry Bernie supporters online. You know, a lot of angry pro Bernie media, you know, just absolutely thrashing Tulsi. And like I said, like I probably talked some shit about Bernie in 2016 when he endorsed Clinton. So like I can get it. I you know, the more I talk about it, the more I kind of understand where that anger, that hurt comes from. But, you know, in this particular case, it's a little bit different, because Tulsi's actually been there with, you know, having Bernie's back for, you know, years now. And she's got, you know, the receipts to prove it. And, you know, bringing it back to my original point, it was never reciprocated, you know, really. Now, again, you can make the argument that it's not Bernie Sanders' job to play Tulsi Gabbard's white knight. Okay, fine, fair enough. But if that's the card you're going to play, then you can't expect someone to do the same for you when the chips come down to it. Now, there's the philosophical part where you would like to think that Tulsi would do that just because of an ideological standpoint. Because, you know, obviously of what Bernie Sanders stands for and what he's trying to do. And, you know, then you have Joe Biden and what he's trying to do. And they're polar opposites of one another. And you would like to think that ideologically that Tulsi Gabbard would embrace the one that is closer to what you thought she was. And I still think she is pretty progressive. Just because she made a bad choice with an endorsement, It doesn't change that, because her track record, her legislative track record speaks for itself. She's fought the establishment now for going on 4 years. If she got tired maybe of fighting, or if she was just like, you know what, the people that I thought were my allies aren't backing me up on this. I mean, I don't really know. I know she's probably on Jimmy Dore right now, and I've been able, at the time this video is being recorded, she is actually going to be going on Jimmy Dore tonight. So that interview is probably going to be dropping at the same time this video is, and I haven't seen it, so she may have elaborated more, but this is where we're at. I mean, we're gonna, and I'll make one of these videos when Bernie does it too. When Bernie eventually concedes and endorses Biden, we're gonna perform the autopsy on Bernie's campaign. We're gonna perform the postmortem, and there's gonna be plenty of blame to go around. And he'll get a video like this too, not just from me. I can assure you, from plenty of people. But see, I don't want to run because this is a very pro Tulsi network, right? So, people are going to catch a lot of shit, get a lot of finger pointing. Oh, hey, yes, your girl. Okay, fine, fair enough. But when it all comes down to it, is that when that finger pointing comes from Bernie supporters, especially very prominent ones in the media that have been, talking heavy shit. I get it. You're trying to get you're trying to get that anger out. But when it all comes down to it, I'm not in the business of canceling somebody just because they endorse somebody that I don't like at all. Because like I said, if that was the case, I would have never, ever even considered, you would have never heard me speak kindly of Bernie Sanders. And my track record shows that I've done that consistently for years now. So, I mean, Tulsi Gabbard is going to maintain that same thing with me. Yeah, I'm going to have that one little, well, you did endorse Joe Biden that time. I mean, it's on the record. So, I mean, that's going to be one thing that is going forward. It's going to be that one thing, one of those things that you bring up. And that's fair. Yeah, but when you hold her up against the rest of the field, this doesn't change anything for me. So, I mean, that's where we're at. I wanted to be transparent because I know that everybody's kind of expecting people from the network, or at least, Nico, he's already done a video like this. I'm a very loudmouth Tulsi supporter, so I'm sure people are asking if I'm hiding. I'm actually not. I've had some family stuff going on for the last week, so I'm just now trying to get back readjusted with, making videos on a regular schedule. So it took me a little bit of extra time. And plus, I wanted to see how things shook out. I wanted to get some reaction from the internet and the prominent personalities that talk about this stuff and other content creators, to see where they were at and see the outrage meter and how high it got. And I think it was actually kind of really, really comical. I still regard her in a very positive light. I still regard Andrew Yang in a very positive light. I always thought that he was a very smart, very, genuinely good guy with some good ideas. I didn't think he was anywhere near as progressive as Tulsi Gabbard is, just on a philosophical level. But, the fact of the matter is, he endorsed Biden. I made a video about that. Tulsi just did it. That's my girl, but I'm gonna have to do that too. So that's what this was. I had to get it off my chest. It was very disappointing. But I feel like the vitriol is a little bit much, and let's just be for real about it. I mean, I'm not going to hold anybody's hands, like, again, in a couple of weeks we'll probably be making another video to go over Bernie's endorsement of Biden. But be that as it may, I just wanted to update you guys, let you know my opinion on the whole thing. I'm not running from anything. I feel like this is, very disappointing, but unfortunately pretty par for the course when it comes to United States political activities. So with that being said, thanks guys for tuning in again to another episode of the Rob Report. Like, dislikes, questions, comments, concerns, put them all down there. You know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on RockFan. And until the next time I see you, you keep doing what you do. I'll keep doing what I do. Take it easy.